So let's do that in our episode history today.
What you want? The Yeastie Boys.
The Yeastie Boys.
Yeah?
I love it. Welcome once again to Chill Filter, the podcast where we do two things. We drink whiskey so you don't have to, but you probably should. And you probably are. And that's why we like you. But we also get down with the sickness, if you know what I mean.
We haven't done that for a while.
No, it's at least 2 or 3 episodes. So
yeah.
But yeah, Cole is sick. But besides Cole being sick, we have a great episode ahead of you. I wrote some really good history on what we're drinking today. We're going to be drinking Old Forester 1920 Prohibition Style. But before we talk about the whiskey, before we talk about getting sick, before we talk about, what was that other thing I mentioned? Oh, a great episode and good history. Let's talk about a way you can support us. I'm going to keep it simple today. Reach out on Instagram. Send us a message. Say, hey, I've been listening, and that's all you got to say. And we'll be like, yo, man, what up? You know, we'll like hit it off.
And you'll be like, that was a mistake.
Yeah. And you're like, I was listening and I hate it. Yeah. But either way, hit us up on Instagram at Chill Filtered Podcast. It's just Chill. No, it's Chill Filtered Podcast. I should know this. Yeah, it's Chill Filtered Podcast. Yeah.
Or Chill Filtered. Just find us.
Just find us. You'll see the cool logo. You'll see it as you see at the top side of the YouTube, John. Yeah, there we go. But that's how you can support us this week. Besides that, Robby, another summer day for you. How's things going?
So things are all right. Today actually kind of did feel like a summer day. It's hot here. It's like we got, I think we're at 102 today.
102.
Yeah. So got the girls out nice and early, went to the park at like 7:15, stayed for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And like we had it to ourselves, which was awesome. And so we did some park play, rode some bikes, did some yard work, and getting ready to grill a little bit after the show here, get dinner ready. So it feels like a summer day, and it's nice because it hasn't quite been that way. Now, to be honest, Cole, and I was surprised you were at crud. We have a special guest later. I kind of
have a special guest later.
I spilled the can of Bush's baked beans.
Oh,
hey, Bean Cam's back, baby. But I'm surprised we recorded this out of sync. We had somebody come in, and if you were listening closely, you know who it was. But neither of you guys mentioned this cold sore I got on my lip.
Oh no, I didn't see it.
Appreciate it.
But you know what Mitch Hedberg says? You're supposed to rub some Carmex on it. And I don't know if that helps, but it sure makes it shiny and more noticeable.
So I was playing games we were playing video games last night with my good friend Merkelben, Chris Kelpin.
Nice.
And he said the exact same thing, and I was not disappointed.
That's so good.
I was trying to think of the quote, and you both nailed it. So
nice.
The crazy thing is, so I'm glad we didn't record like 2 days ago. Apparently, after people get COVID, like they get some viral like stuff that with cold sores, especially where they'll get
really
crazy. This sucker was as big as ever been. It looked like I had like botched lip fillers or something like that. My lip was huge. And like it was awful. So I was down with my sickness. And so one of my wife's MP friends was like, oh yeah, no, that's happening a lot. So she called me like this antiviral med, which it seems like it's worked because now it's less noticeable.
Yeah.
But it came with some crazy side effects where I had crazy joint pain, like a headache, and I spent a lot of time in the restroom. So that was not super summer fun. But yeah,
man,
that's about it.
When will summer begin for Robby?
It did today. Today was a good day.
That's good.
Didn't have to use my AK. There you go.
That's good.
Yeah, no, I mean nothing too much else going on. So I don't know. What? How about you? If you're feeling a little sick, what's going on, buddy?
Sick. Started feeling sick on Monday. Today's Thursday. It got really bad yesterday. But I got tested for COVID negative. Who knows? I still might have it. But I've been going to work and feeling a little bit fuzzy at work, which sucks. I think that's one of the worst parts about being sick is the fuzzy mind. But otherwise, yeah, just chugging along. Work's good. I celebrated my birthday last week.
Yeah.
And no Audi, but there is good news. Apparently the Audi was inspected 2 days ago.
Nice.
So that means it's just a matter of paperwork being sent around. So I luckily will be able to, hopefully drive that soon. And yeah, birthday was good. We mostly chilled. I had a poker night with some friends. That was fun. Basically, I took like probably 10 bottles off my shelf and said, hey, whatever you want to drink, just be respectful in your pour and like be responsible in your pour.
And if someone starts pouring, goes like, "That's not respectful.
That's not responsible either." Yeah, no, but it was a really fun time.
Be more respectful of that bottle.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Be more responsible. Yeah, it was fun, and it was exactly what I wanted out of like a poker night. A bunch of just dudes hanging out and having fun. And yeah, this weekend is my wife's birthday, and I feel like I got her a few things, but I also feel like that's the day. Like her sister planned our nephew's party on my wife's birthday, which is fine. But it's like I can't really plan much around that now because of that. But that's okay. And I'll make the best of it and make the best of kind of the weekend in general with my wife. So yeah, life is good. I feel like I put on weight lately, which sucks.
Oh, we were in a different camera setup, and I was like, my face is getting a little chubby.
You thought me?
No, me. I was feeling the same way.
Guy. Chub.
I gotta kick into high gear here. I'm not.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I had a good day this week where I was like, all right, I'm only gonna eat good things, and I did it, and it was really hard.
I'm only gonna eat good things.
Yeah, like I only like things like chicken and veggies and stuff. So, but I need to just hop back on. I think I'm like 185 right now, if not a little more, and I really like to be 180. And I was 180 for a long time, and that was great. And now I'm just kind of basically what had happened was my friend who I was doing that wager with, he dropped out, and I had no reason outside of trying to be healthy to get back to weight.
Do that.
Yeah, I'd rather be motivated by money than being healthy. It's proven itself. So, but that's life. That's good. Since we do have a long segment with a guest later on, I wanted to maybe skip right over to our history today, if you're cool with that.
Well, can we take a walk first?
Oh, we can take a walk.
Let's go.
We'll be right back after this short, brisk, beautiful walk. And we're back from a brisk, sweet summer walk. And
we're back like a cold sore every 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. 5 years? Dude, I get a cold sore every month or two. Maybe 2 or 3 months.
I honestly haven't. It's been about 5 years since I had my last one. But when I first started my new teaching, my current teaching job, I was so stressed I would get them every 3 months. It was awful. Rough. Do you ever take Lysine?
I have, yep. And what I do now, and it works, but it's just you got to be on top of it, is once I get a cold sore or even feel like one's coming in, I will start pounding vitamin C. Take those emergency things. I'll take 5 in a day for 5 days, and it will fade out really quick.
Also, I've been putting this stuff on Breva or something like that. It's
Abreva.
Cream. Abreva, yeah. And I think it's worked. I don't know.
No,
anyway,
it's been in and out for me. So yeah, let's talk about what we're excuse me. What we're drinking today. We're drinking Old Forester 1920 Prohibition Style. So I wanted to get into some history today, but before I do, huge shout out to my father-in-law, Tracy Lewis, for buying me this bottle about a year or so ago.
Heyo.
So Old Forester 1920 Prohibition Style. This is definitely not our first Old Forester whiskey we've done. This is number 7, actually. Most recently was episode 180, where we drank Old Forester Rye. But we've even done episodes on their Whiskey Row series of what we're drinking today. Episode 54 had a very special guest episode with Caleb Olson, one of our favorite Patreon supporters, and his friend James. They drank 1910 Old Fine Whiskey. And episode 72, we drank 1870 Original Batch. There's only one other besides the one we're drinking today, and that is the 1897 bottled in bond.
So we can only have one more Old Forester episode unless we get something special or release.
No,
kind of
in terms of their Whiskey Row series, which is 4
Whiskey
bottles.
Row. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 4. Yeah, but they have plenty of other, like even multiple years of birthday bourbon, and they have some single barrels. Great stuff.
I got you. I was not listening as closely.
You're good.
But those are so. Well, maybe it was because I had unless it's a special release. So those things are special.
No, I think we have done pretty much everything besides that one. That is not special. No, we do the Statesman. We still have that on the docket.
Statesman,
yeah. So we'll have plenty to work with.
Okay,
so we're not running out of whiskeys anytime soon.
No, we're not.
Yeah. So last episode I spoke on Old Forester. I looked up some of the history on that one. And I mentioned how Old Forester uses a specific yeast strain called 1B, and they use a 20% sour mash. And I even said I said we should do that, talk about a sour mash process in a future episode, and what it is and what it isn't. So let's do that in our episode history today.
What you want? The Yeastie Boys.
The Yeastie Boys.
Yeah?
I love it. So what you fermented?
Maybe, you know what? Maybe we change the name of the podcast to the Yeastie Boys.
We'll probably get more hits that way. People won't start asking us why not non-chill filtered.
I do have this fungal infection that I
exactly.
Yeah, it's not a call-in show. It's not that kind of Yeastie Boy.
Yeah,
man. Anyway,
that is a good point. So maybe we will stick with the chill filtered.
Let's just stay with chill filtered.
So I've heard some people, and it's not a thing I hear a lot, but I've heard some people say, I love sour mash bourbon. And when I ask them why, they will usually say it's because of the taste. And excuse me, they say it's the slight tang that you get from something sour. Well, I'm about to burst some bubbles on this episode right here. First of all, sour mash process has no effect on any sour taste on a bourbon. Secondly, every major distiller, and I would argue most non-major distillers, use sour mash process for all their bourbon and rye. So it's not like you're drinking, even if it's on the label and says sour mash, like something like Jack Daniels or Michter's or something like that, or even E.H. Taylor. Most bourbons do a sour mash process. So it's nothing too out of the ordinary to do that. So anyway, the purpose of a sour mash process is pretty smart, and it really allows for two things that most distillers are seeking out on the process of fermentation. One is to get beneficial bacteria in yeast growth as opposed to bad bacteria in yeast growth.
Don't want that.
Two, consistency in batches. We've talked before about how much yeast strains can affect the flavor of whiskey, and it's huge. And that's why people like the guys behind Wilderness Trail could basically make a living just working on the yeast. But that's why why we see proprietary yeast strains and secret yeast recipes like this 1B we're talking about today. Yeast can change everything. And so can bacteria involved in fermentation. But something bad happens when you let certain bacteria eat on your mash. And for the record, if anyone doesn't know, the mash is the grain and the water and the yeast combo that produces alcohol which is then distilled. If you get certain bad bacteria in your mash, two things could potentially happen. One, the bacteria will take advantage of the environment and turn your whole mash bad. And I've heard it can smell pretty darn nasty if you got a bad batch. And the bacteria just takes over. But two, the other thing that could happen is your mash can kill those bad bacteria. And distillers long ago found that low pH levels, meaning acidity, can kill the bad bacteria in the fermentation process. So they needed something to provide acidity to the batch. But what do you do when you can't add anything to bourbon process besides water, grain, and yeast, and potentially wood container? Well, check this out.
I'm ready.
So when you distill a batch of mash and get it off of the first run of the still, there's a big batch of spent grain and like water left in the still. But that spent mash is acidic. It's just what happens when you ferment and distill, and what's left over of the distillation process. It is acidic, and one might even call it a sour mash.
Oh,
They take a portion of that sour mash and add it to the next batch that's fermenting, and that way, two things happen. It raises the acidity of the next batch so that the low pH environment will kill off the bad bacteria, and two, by adding a small portion of the last batch to the next one, it brings a level of consistency to each batch, similar to like sourdough starter. Technically, my sourdough starter is almost 2.5 years old, but still, at least technically, has some of the same yeast from the original being spent. Or I'm sorry, yeah, but of course, the spent mash is likely empty of the yeast. Because it was involved in the fermentation, in the distillation process, which involves a lot of heat. So the yeast doesn't exactly carry on in that process, but that's where the 1B yeast strain comes into play with Old Forester. But the mash does carry forward some of the attributes of the last batch by doing that. One other cool note I learned from Chuck Cowdery's blog is that the sour mash to new batch ratio is about sometimes as high as 1-3. They talked about I mentioned earlier, Old Forester uses a 20%, so it's a 1-4 ratio. But that's much more than I thought. Like pretty much 20% of the or 1-4. Yeah. But it's basically 20% of the
20% be 1 to 5.
No, it'd be 1 of 5.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's like odds.
Math
like
man.
1-4 odds is like basically 20%. So that's much more than I thought. But yeah, besides that, they ferment and distill and send the spent mash to the next batch after that. So that's sour mash distilling for you. Let's talk about what we're drinking today. And why I brought up sour mash is because we've talked a lot about Old Forester in the past, and even Brown-Forman. So I didn't want to overlap too much, but no, we haven't talked about sour mash yet. And there's sour mash involved in this.
Oh,
so
well, let's talk about it. Well, if it didn't, I'd be a little disappointed, Cole.
Good. What we're drinking today, like I said, it's part of their Whiskey Row series, and it was called 1920 Prohibition Style, because in 1920, at the beginning of Prohibition, the 6 distillers that were legally allowed to produce medicinal whiskey in Kentucky had to bottle at 100 proof. That was kind of the law. I didn't know this, and it makes sense because the one we had mentioned medicinal purposes only, and it was bottled in bond. And most were barreling at that proof as well. They were barreling at 100 proof, and then they would bottle at 100 proof, but they would have to cut it because of the angel's share. So they would say normally in that process, the angel's share would up the proof by the end of the aging to about 115. That's what we're drinking today, 115 proof. And it was basically done to honor that of what the Prohibition barrel proof whiskey would be at that point, even though they had to cut it.
So you would think like that would be a better name for it though, right? Prohibition barrel proof.
Yeah, you'd think so. Instead of just
buzzwordy,
but they already have a bottled in bond version, which is 100 proof. So, yeah.
But this is Prohibition cask strength. Then?
Prohibition style. Prohibition, they say.
Cask.
Yeah,
but I mean, I would go through
weird. I'm with you.
Well, I will say this though. Mm-hmm. Cheers to them for not like buzzwording it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess
they're like it's super smooth. But anyway, speaking of buzzwords, according to their website, I already mentioned that. So no age statement here, but we do know is it's the standard mash bill of Old Forester, mostly Brown-Forman. Which do you remember, Robby? What is the? Okay,
I never do.
72%
corn, 72% corn,
18% rye. 10% malted barley. That's the barrels. Old Forester way.
The Old Forester way.
That's basically all I got. From what I've heard and what I've seen and a lot of people talk about is that people prefer the 1920 over the other batch or the other Whiskey Row series, but some people differ. I actually really like the 1870, which I believe is like 90 proof or something like that. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes today with the 115er. Total wine price, 72. Let's drink.
Let's do that.
So
you got a
cork
cork
pop
pop
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Ooh, nice. That was a good one.
Epic.
I believe that was a good one.
I think so too.
I believe in a thing called love. Just another in my heart. Let's make this whiskey dizzy. Do the old match out. The old spin J, the old swirly.
Shout out to
poo.
Dramhound's daughter.
Yeah.
I hope she listens.
Yeah.
If she does, she knows she's famous today.
Without ever having said her name.
Yeah.
Famous.
Well, everyone knows Dramhound's daughter.
Hey, as we're doing this, Cole, you'll be proud of me. Guess what I've been watching?
Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, and I didn't realize I was like 3 seasons behind.
Oh wow! So I just watched the series finale last night. I won't give anything away.
Do you feel like it paid off? Was it good?
I'm still thinking about it.
Okay.
I don't think it was anywhere near lost. And it was good. Don't get me wrong. It was a good ending. Part of me is like, I feel like it could have been better, but it was still good.
I'll be honest. Have you watched Stranger Things season 4 yet?
No.
I'm
not gonna.
Okay. Okay. Have you watched The Bear yet?
It's a big investment to pick up a show after 2 seasons watching and then like starting, because people are saying just pick up in season 4, and I'm like, okay, I can do that, but like I also am not that attached.
Okay. Have you watched The Bear though? Have you watched The Bear? Have you watched?
I've heard good things about it.
I've said good things on and on about it.
Yeah.
I think you got to watch it.
Okay.
All right.
So
anyway.
2 things to note today for Cole is that one, my nose isn't working as good as it should, and 2, my tongue isn't working as good as it should right now. I've been getting a lot of like sharp notes, or like the alcohol's burning my tongue more than I'm tasting it. So don't rely on me. We'll put the credibility on Robby a little bit more today.
Appley. So much apples. Like I wasn't even sniffing it as I'm just doing the old swirly poo here, making it dizzy. I'm like fragrantly getting apples right off the top. And real sweet too. A nice sweetness to it. Yeah. It reminds me of like when you and Adam used to record. It seemed like for a while there, it was always like, I'm sick. I can't. I don't.
That's
know.
right. Yeah.
You guys went back and forth.
Dude, I got so sick at Wisconsin, more than like anywhere. Although I've gotten sick a lot here, but that's because Beck's in daycare.
But I think part of it too, that was like pre-COVID, and you didn't have a kid, so you guys are going out and doing stuff.
Yeah, as God intended. Yep. So I'm just getting bourbon-y notes, a little bit of sharpness on the alcohol vapors, but don't trust me. Is it so? One thing I want to know for you, is it too potent for heat?
Heat's not bad. You know, sometimes like this is at room temperature, but you know how sometimes you drink a whiskey, it's like, ooh, that's cold. This is like that kind of mouthfeel right off the bat where my mouth just immediately cooled down.
Yeah.
It's kind of nutty on the back end.
Nutty.
Yeah, a little nutty on the back end. Viscosity wise, very low viscosity. It's almost like drinking water. I'm gonna go for another sip here. Are you getting anything?
Not much. I did get a little bit of that nutty, but mostly it just burns my tongue, which I hate. I'm like, I just want to taste this, but I'm not getting much from it. But I did get a little bit of nutty. Not much else.
You know,
but yeah, like I said, sorry, Forrester.
Yeah. Right off the bat, like, it's nice and cool. It's low viscosity. I get like it starts going towards like a little bit of bitterness, and then it comes back where it's just like kind of a nutty, not super sweet. Like I'm surprised because nose wise, it was really sweet. Golly, it was just hopping out of the Glencairn. There was a swirl. Yeah, not super sweet. It's not bad. It's got some interesting things going on, but it's not
But don't we all, Robby?
Yeah, here I am, just a man with my baggage,
Yep.
my man bag.
Had a lot going on.
Yeah. Did a couple drops.
Yep. Oh, I feel bad, but we're gonna rely more on you today, Robby.
Yeah.
I'm not getting much, but
doing
I
my
know
best.
there's stuff there. I know there's like plenty there, but it's just my nose is so clogged.
You
And
wish
my tongue is so burning.
You wish you had to go chase it.
I sure hope that I sure hope that I don't have COVID and I'm losing sensory stuff because I ate something today and it did not taste as it should have.
Well, honestly, like as close proximity as you were to Beck and your wife, you would think you would have had it already.
No, I have. I mean, I had it in January.
Well, I guess this this
a
new
second
variant.
round, you're saying?
This new variant is like I was talking to somebody the other day. And this is like fifth hand information, but like you could get it this new variant even if you just had it a couple weeks ago. So
wow.
Let's I think that's the like I think our listeners are all kind of the same boat as we are, where it's like that's probably one of the worst things ever if like you lose your sense of taste and smell.
Yeah, especially long term.
Oh gosh, I couldn't imagine.
So
it would be the worst podcast
ever.
ever. Here we are, neither of us can taste nor smell, and it's I don't know.
We're just gonna shoot the breeze longer.
Oh
man, that would suck. That wouldn't be as good therapy as it always is. It's good. It's good on the with the water. I think I'm getting a little bitterness, but I don't know if that's my mouth or not.
This is it's not super sweet. It's not sweet. It oh gosh, it's almost there's not much going for this. Like initially with the apple I was getting I was like, oh, this could be really impressive. But there's really not a ton going for it. It's light and it goes down easy. It's dare I say smooth, but that's about
smooth.
That's about the only thing I'm really going for. Like that's
smooth
the only
jazz.
good thing about it. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey bow bow.
Boom boom boom.
Oh, where's my ice?
Boom boom boom.
Chick-fil-A. What happened at Chick-fil-A?
So I'm eating Chick-fil-A and it doesn't taste the same. And I'm like worried. I don't know if it's just the fact that my nose is clogged and there's something going on my tongue. But I really hope I don't have COVID and shared it with my whole workplace and wife and baby. And potentially you telephonically.
What?
Sorry. No, but
that's a good track for halfway. You don't hear
too much about people losing their sense of taste and smell anymore. Although apparently Chelsea
happened
did.
to Chelsea for a little bit. Yeah. It happened to one of my good friends.
Has she recovered?
Yeah, she's back. She's good. It was like a day
she's
and
back,
a half,
baby.
2 days. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, it wasn't too much. So yeah, I don't know.
That's good. So I just dropped a cube. Same kind of nose. Nothing.
Yeah, honestly, nothing really on the nose. Slight, maybe white sugary kind of a sweetness on the nose, but kind of killed.
I'm getting a little bitterness. Ooh, I don't like that. But it might be just me with bad.
No, it does get bitter at the end.
Yeah,
I think on the front end. Ooh, yep, there it is. Way worse.
Done with this.
Front end, it was not really. It was like like Apple Jacks don't taste like apples, but I think of apples.
Yeah,
and they're not. Like, it was kind of Apple Jacky where it was like, am I getting apples? And it's bitter. So
yeah. So I'm gonna forego giving this a rating.
Okay.
I wish I could. Like I would if I felt semi-confident, but I don't even feel semi-confident.
Well, I tell you,
I'm gonna rely completely on your rating today.
You got the bottle, so we can come back to this later if we remember.
Sounds good to me.
If we remember. That being said, we don't remember much.
No.
Like Cole was like today, hey, let's record. And I was like, I didn't do the Whiskey World News. Or I didn't do the what whiskey would you choose? So
it's all good. But we don't need to do the Whiskey World News.
What? No, we will do Whiskey World News.
In a moment. We'll do the Whiskey World News.
Oh,
We don't need to do the what whiskey would you choose results.
So
We'll talk about that in a bit.
Anyway, we got to come back. I think you can come back to this. This is entry buzz it, rate it.
Entry buzz it.
Good. So anyway, gosh, I'm going to go just a straight 6.
Okay. Wow, that's low.
Yeah, there's nothing really, nothing impressive, nothing really good about it, great about it. Like it's not that there's some bad things. Yeah, there are some bad things. Like there's some bitterness there. Nothing really hits on something where I'm like, ooh, I like that. I want to go back for that. Minus, that bright apple note on the first swirly poo on the nose, and then just like a nice mouthfeel for a little bit on the neat pour. So I'm just gonna go straight 6. I don't think I would pay $70 for this.
Yeah,
I mean it's not.
I can't. Yeah, I mean, I'll give it I'll give it a better rating another day.
Okay.
But now that our ratings are done, I think it's time for a segment we like to call Whiskey World News.
All right. And we're back. Best part of the show. The part of the show we like to call Whiskey World News. And actually, this probably, Cole and I have poo-pooed Whiskey World News quite a bit lately. This one is super special. And it is actually it's probably going to be the best part of the show. It's going to be something I'm looking forward to, something we've been wanting to do, and we don't have an article today. And in fact, this isn't even written. This is not even written. We're not even going to read it.
We're just spitballing news.
Because this is breaking news. In studio with us, we have a good friend. And for the first time ever in Chill Filtered history, all 3 hosts
That's right.
are here.
Yeah.
This is the first. Yeah, it never happened. So
yeah, hi, it's me, Adam.
I guess we got to say, well, yeah, if you're YouTube, you just saw him pop up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, podcast world.
Adam Rostad is here of formerly Chill Filter.
Of Chill Filter fame. Let's be honest.
Yeah, one of the forefathers.
The forefather. If there were one
of the
it was Adam.
Forefathers.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so Adam wanted to come on. Like we've been trying to do this for a while now, and just Adam's like, I just don't feel like that's kind of where I'm at. Like I'm not really doing whiskey anymore,
or alcohol at all.
Yeah. We just wanted to come on and chat, and so we're super excited. So Adam, I guess just to start, it's been 2.5 years. Where you been?
Yeah. Well, first, guys, I do have a whiskey article for you. I didn't up until about 10 seconds ago, but Google, you just type in whiskey news. The first one I saw is kind of interesting. It says New Hampshire distillery makes whiskey out of invasive crabs. Have you guys seen this yet?
I've seen the article. Yep,
I have not.
I don't want to read it. But there you go. There's your headline.
Man, well, now I feel like we got to come back to visit that later.
Yeah,
that would be a great. What whiskey would you choose out of it too? It'd be like, what whiskey do you want to drink when you get crabs?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, man. So anyway, Adam, what have you been up to?
Cold humor is rubbing off on you, Robby. That was a total cold joke. What have I been up to? Well, I lost about 100 pounds, probably about 130 pounds since this audience really last saw me. And I lost that. So when I quit the show, I quit because I was diagnosed with diabetes. And then my last appearance on the show was the last time that I produced for you guys. I put at the tail end of everything. I just put hey, it's my sign off. I love doing this, but I got to move on. So I lost all that weight in the first 6 months, and exercising and hiking and things like that became a huge passion of mine. In June of 2020 was the best year of my life. It's always funny when people talk about the pandemic and that year specifically, because it's always negative. And then, when you're commiserating in a circle and then it's your turn and everybody's looking at you. And I'm just I discovered what it's like to be healthy for the first time in 2020 and started living for my adult life for the first time. And it was the best. And it was awesome. It was amazing. Everybody hates it. But we vacationed to Colorado that summer to celebrate my health and our wedding anniversary. And Ashley had never been to Colorado and fell in love. And ever since then, we have been trying to figure out how can we make Colorado work. Is it ever possible? We saved up a bunch of money in 2021. And at the end of that, it was just like, no, there's just no way. Like we did a really good job saving, but there's no way. I'm trying really hard not to curse, even though you guys still have an explicit.
I don't know if we can get rid of it, to be honest.
I don't think you can because of all your backlog of episodes. So, but I'm going to respect the new hosts.
Ooh,
and not curse. I'm going to try really hard, especially considering the subject I'm on to talk about. So, and so we were looking at buying a cheap house in the UP of Michigan because it was like kind of the same bunch of hiking out in nature, yada, yada. But houses are super cheap. And then in March of this year, I couldn't stand my job at the DOT anymore. I quit on the spot in an Adam fashion, I'll say.
Nice.
And then that night, 2 hours later, we fell backwards into a dream opportunity for my wife to be a nanny for a ranching family in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, near Steamboat Springs. It came with housing and a very generous salary, and it gave me the opportunity to really think about first of all, it gave me the opportunity. You know, my mom passed away in March, same month that all this started happening. So moving here really gave me the opportunity to just take a break, just take a breath. And 2.5 years of pandemic customer service work for the government on the phone will fry your brain. And so I just needed a break. And then I had one job interview with a company that saw my background in podcasting, and it had nothing to do with podcasting, but at the tail end, they said, "Hey, do you think we could ever start a podcast?" And so then we started talking about that. And I walked away from the interview going, "What am I doing?" For the first time in my life, in my adult life, I have the opportunity to live in a house that is being provided to me and totally pursue with everything I've got podcasting. And so I had been working on a show idea for 1.5 years. And I finally was like, you know what, now's the time. But in the meantime, the last show I was doing, I feel like I'm dominating the conversation. If you guys
this is the breaking news. This is Whiskey World breaking news.
The last show I had been involved in was a show called Women AF. I believe that you guys had did you have them on or something?
No, we would rep them a lot though.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I couldn't remember.
Back to Motorbox Media for a while.
I think they had something where they had a whiskey person on. I don't know. Oh,
nice.
Not us. We're not whiskey people.
And so when that wrapped up, I had really just been like, I think I'm done. I think I'm going to put away this silly dream. 2021 honestly was like 2020 was the best year of my life. And then 2021 was probably the most traumatic year of my life. I gave up this dream of podcasting. My wife and I had been struggling to get pregnant at that point for 4 years. And we had just both silently, never said this to each other, but just in our hearts and mind, we had given up. We knew it was never going to happen. So that's why, like, the fact that we moved here and she got pregnant right away is just like
2022, baby.
Yeah. And so I held on to all my gear because, like, I'm the type of guy who like makes a decision and then has to think about it for a long time. And so then in January of 2022, I sold like every last piece of gear that I had, except for this nice microphone. I sold all of my really good stuff and then bought just a tiny little audio interface to be able to connect this microphone to the computer, just so I could have something. I had grown accustomed to sounding really good in meetings and things like that. That sounds so vain, but that's what it is. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, you're a musician. You get show ideas all the time. You never know. And so, when we moved here, with that company, I just moved away, like walked away from that, saying start pursuing that. And so I did. I took this show idea. Can you tell that I'm hesitating to talk about this show? How contrary it is to your brand. I feel that. So it's about marijuana, man. It's about cannabis. I grew up religious. I still would say that I have a faith. Cole, you know that my faith has always been very different than yours. You would probably be shocked at how different it is now.
Yeah.
But I still think that we're thinking the same thing mostly. So I grew up in a background probably much like you guys, where it's like cannabis is looked down upon it in the nicest terms, you know. And so part of my symptoms from my diabetes diagnosis was neuropathy. I got diagnosed with neuropathy, and that means my nerves in my appendages started dying. I noticed it in my feet first, and then it started tingling in my hands. By the time my fingers started tingling, I'd say from my toes to midway up, almost halfway to my ankle, I just couldn't straight up feel anything. If I could feel anything, it was immense pain. And so when we traveled to Colorado in June of 2020, I just, cannabis is legal, and that was the only reason I didn't really have a moral objection to it anymore. And so we were in a legal state, and my friend was like, "You just got to try it." But I had gotten super healthy over those previous 6 months. I quit smoke in one day. The day I was diagnosed, I quit drinking, I quit smoking, I quit every bad thing, sugar, carbs, all of it. And so I said, "Listen, man, I am open to this, but I can't do edibles because they're sugary. And even the baked ones that aren't sugary, those are carbs. And I don't want to smoke anything because I gave up smoking, and I don't want anything to ever bring me back to tobacco." And he said, "It's okay. I can find you something." So he found me this stuff. It's a powdered THC, and it's water soluble. Most THC is not, but this is a specific product that is that is water soluble. And so I tried it one time, and it was the first time in a year and a half that I could not feel my feet, but it was like, oh, I'm not thinking about the numbness. I'm not thinking about the pain. It was just like I could relax for the first time in a year and a half and not think about my feet. And it was life-changing. And I grew up a pastor's kid, and I say all the time when I talk about cannabis that it very quickly became my new gospel. And what I mean by that is it changed my life so much for the better. So about 6 months after that is the first time that I inhaled cannabis, and that is a way different experience because I could get into all the science, but that's what I'm here to promote. If you want,
but I assume you get into that science on
right, because I'm a nerd. What'd you say?
What's a brand new podcast? I bet you could get into that on a brand new podcast called
Hi Friends. So yes,
with a GH.
What I loved about being a part of Chill Filtered, I feel very conflicted about being Chill Filtered as somebody who now recognizes that I'm an alcoholic. So I do feel conflicted about my history here, and even being on here. But I do know that there's crossover here for people, because what I loved about this was nerding out about the science of it. I would have never researched that unless I had met Cole and he had gotten me in, because I just wouldn't have known it was there. And I think that cannabis is very similar in that the general outlook on it, it's very hard because now that I know, really the general culture outlook on it is very positive. But the general culture outlook that I came from, they think that it's something that it's not, that it's just this party drug. And I'd say for the majority of Americans who use cannabis today, it is strictly a medicinal use, or at least it's intended medicinally. But the thing is, I classify medicinal use as if you have intention, if you're using with intention, then that's medicinal, even if that intention is just, hey, I want to amplify this good time. Generally, I think that unless you're trying to rest because you're sick or you're going to sleep, if you're just using to sit on the couch, that is where I become a little like, hey, this is a lot like when I would just drink 12 PBRs a night. But me, I would call myself a productive stoner. It's a real thing though, and I understand why you guys laugh, because you're just not familiar with the culture. But so cannabis has helped me realize that I had ADHD. Part of this was just the medical community and the scientific community had a misunderstanding of the actual symptoms of ADHD for the longest time. But part of it is that honestly, cannabis for me, it doesn't make me lazy. It doesn't make, I was using alcohol to mask things I hated about myself and things I didn't want people to see and just kind of like hide me. Cannabis doesn't do that for me. It like forces me to see those things and confront them and bring them to light so that I can then deal with them and then push them out. And so I think that some parts of the general public have this idea that cannabis is you're just using it to be lazy, but I'm using it every day so that I can stay in this mindset of you have to be the healthiest you can be, especially now because you've got a baby, and you've got to be motivated now because you've got to provide for that baby. Like all this stuff. The first time that I inhaled cannabis, I felt like a normal human being for the first time. Like I say to Ashley all the time, it feels like nobody's looking at me like I'm a weirdo for the first time in my life. And I've always had good, dear friends, but I've always felt either less than or other. And like through this journey of cannabis and using it, coming up with my own theories of like, this is what I think, why I'm feeling this way and why cannabis is doing this to me. And then now with this show, what I'm doing, I'm talking to these scientists, these PhD people and people who have real knowledge of the actual science of what's happening to you. And it's shocking how many times it's lining up with what my stoner mind theories were. And so what I'm trying to do with the show is just take that group of stoners who are just using as escapism and helping them see that, hey, you don't have to use in that way that is looked down upon. You can use in a way that is productive. And I'm also trying to reach people like you guys and maybe some of your audience who have an idea of what cannabis is and maybe an idea that what I was taught isn't exactly it and are just curious, and just present it in a friendly way and that's presentable to them that they can at least go, well, that was funny. And I can appreciate that there's probably stuff about this that I don't know. I still may not be interested, but I can appreciate that this show is trying to show that there's more to it than Cheech and Chong asking, where's Dave? You know? So,
totally. The more you know. The more
yeah. I'm so sorry. I talked so long there.
No, you're fine.
No, man. You've got 2.5 years of non-chill filtered podcast built up in your system. Just got to get it out.
So I assume everyone can find your podcast on all the big venues,
all the platforms. Yeah, you search. So it's high like drug use, HIGH, friends, ! Some on Spotify. I know that you have to do the exact spelling as it is. Most of them though, you can find it. The artwork is it's pot leaves, darkened green pot leaves with white lettering, HF podcast. So they can find it. You can find us on Instagram, Hi Friends Pod, and you can link to the show from there too. So
sounds good. And thanks for joining. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I listened to the intro of Hi Friends the other day, and I was like, oh, Adam's like, it's just funny. I haven't heard your voice in a podcasty way. I was like, oh, he's back, Oliver.
He's back, baby.
I did have a moment where I was doing some promo stuff earlier this week. It's amazing once you actually have time to put into like production, stuff works. And so I had this moment where I was doing some promo stuff and I was like putting on my podcast promo voice, and I had this moment of like, oh wow, I'm back. Because the first episode I recorded the intro and the interview in the middle of COVID. So it's very flat. And I but I just had to get content out. And now I was recording an interview today and I was like, oh wow, I'm actually way more engaged with this guy. I feel so bad.
Nice. Wait, so how many episodes do you have like backlogged?
So honestly, I'm doing a show a little differently than I've ever done it, guys. You know how when we started Chill Filtered, it was like we would do a show start to finish. We would have segments, but we might break for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I am just recording content left and right, and then I'm piecing together shows. Nice. So what I've learned, here's a little production tip for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I've learned over time, I used to be so focused on the amount of content that I had to offer. And something like cannabis, it's so important that the information is 3 things: accurate to the point of brutal scrutiny. It has to be engaging to a multitude of audiences. And then I don't remember the third thing because I am a little stoned right now.
It's no meandering.
I was gonna say
accurate and
so
no meandering.
We have one bad review. I don't know if you caught this one, but this guy's like, it's full of inaccuracies.
Oh,
and
I did see that the other day. Yeah.
So like, if you said meandering, I would think you are Mitzelprick who posted that.
Yeah, exactly.
The third thing is that it has to offer something that people can't get elsewhere. There's a lot of listen, cannabis is huge right now.
There's probably plenty of podcasts.
Very soon, federal legalization will happen. We are now sandwiched between two countries who are federally legal. So it's just coming. So and everybody in the industry and anybody in the culture that I'm in right now can just feel it. So everybody's doing stuff like I'm doing. It's out there. There's lots of people being successful on TikTok and Instagram. What I'm getting at is there's tons of good competition, tons of it.
Oh, we know that with whiskey,
right? For you guys too. Yeah. And so the reason I'm just being like, hey, I'm recording this segment with this person, with that person, is just because it means just because I'm recording with you does not mean I am releasing it. Who cares if I quote unquote need an episode? I'm not going to release not quality anymore. Not that
we believe the exact opposite. We release not quality every
Monday.
Well, so what I'm getting at is that what I realized for me, and this is not a dig at your guys' show, because I was a part of your show for a long time. I realized that by recording from start to finish, even with multiple segments to mix it up, from doing it start to finish in one sitting, it caused a lot of the dynamics to get flattened just a little bit. And so what I am now finding is that if you separate yourself from it for just a few days or even a few hours, sometimes when you record your next segment, you have all of that energy back. You're regaining serotonin and you're, recovering from that brief like performance hangover that you get. And it oftentimes will let you examine the segment that you just recorded and go, is this to the detriment or the building up of my show, and is it beneficial to my audience? Anyway, sorry to get into podcasting stuff. I'm also now working with businesses. That business that I had a meeting with, an interview with, I'm meeting with them next week to start the production process for their podcast. They said they almost offered me a job, but I emailed them and said, hey, I have no interest. I forgot to say this part. I have no interest. I realized that I'm going to pursue podcasting. And he was like, will you pitch me a show? Like, what's the show that we would do? And I did. And he more or less bought it. He said, all right, I'm down. We just got to meet and iron it out. So, and then when we launched the High Friends podcast, by the way, again, it's High Friends, every podcast platform out there. If you're interested in cannabis at all, I present it in a fun, cool way. You'll love it. What was I saying? Oh my gosh.
The company
job, signed on to it, give it a good pitch.
And so when we launched High Friends, the day we launched, companies were reaching out. I can't say too much, but a huge name in Midwest cannabis called me on Instagram out of the blue. When I picked up my phone, I set it down because I thought it was malfunctioning. And then I was like, oh no, I got to answer. And he's like, hey, I would love to work with you and see what we can do together. So like that's happening a bunch. And
nice.
It's just nice after 10 years of like grinding away at this game to finally be doing it. So yeah, if anybody in your audience is looking for somebody to help them do a podcast, I'm really doing it now. So
are you still going by Mortarbox Media?
Yeah, still doing it Mortarbox Media. And that's in honor of my grandfather, Hank Rosted, who was a bricklayer. It'll always be Mortarbox, always.
I like that because I do miss this is a Mortarbox Media.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll wrap it up about there, Adam. But yeah, check them out. Hi Friends, Friends, HIGH exclamation point. Yeah, we're gonna get it right. But yeah, you're on all the venues like we are, and yeah, if you're looking for a podcast of your own, hey, we got a professional here. So is your Instagram still good? Your Mortarbox Media Instagram?
They can reach out there, @Rosted or Hi Friends Pod. You know, that's really
cool.
the one that I'm working on the most right now. So if you're trying to catch me, that's where you'll find me. Hi Friends Pod.
Sounds good. Well, any final words, Adam? We're grateful that you joined us. We're grateful for being a forefather. So yeah, what else?
I think the final thing I'll say, and I'll just say right up front, edit this out if you guys won't take it. I totally get it if you won't. But listen, I drank for a long time, not realizing that I had more than just a casual problem. And I would feel remiss being on this show with this audience if I didn't just say, really examine the reason you're drinking. Dr. Drew Pinsky defines addiction as the inability to quit something in the face of negative consequences. And I really like that definition because it just kind of forces you to look at real life and go, well, yeah, I do have this negative consequence, but that I'm still going to drink. So I don't want to get too negative, but I just ask your audience, look at why you're drinking. If it is just a good casual thing for you, awesome. I'm so proud of you. But as the son of a woman who died of cirrhosis, look at it every now and then.
No, I appreciate that. I'm keeping it in.
I'm taking it. No, I'm keeping it in.
Yeah, podcast, take it out. YouTube, keep it in.
And I appreciate that, Adam, because I know we've had a couple of times we took the month of January off. Just kind of reset and reevaluate. And I think it's important, especially with anything in life, if it's got a negative consequence, but you're still doing it,
this is the last thing I'll say about it, because I really don't want to dig on it too bad. It's especially hard when it's something like whiskey, which is this cool, and especially right now, it's a very cool thing. And it's cool to be into cool things. And because there's a lot of other cool things to get into with cool things. And so I get it. It gets really hard to see beyond all those things to the root that there's a problem. There's a real problem. And so that's why it's a dangerous place to be. And that's why I don't want to come on this show and not just and never address and say, hey, this is an elephant in the room. It is.
Well, and I think I do appreciate too, because for you the show was fun. It is fun for us. I love it. Yeah. And I would have a hard time leaving something fun like that. And
I miss it all the time. I send you guys whiskey stuff all the time. Yeah, there's a bar in town, a burger bar in town called Carl's Tavern in Steamboat. And it is probably the best whiskey bar menu I've ever seen. It's just, I'm blown away by it. So yeah, I still miss it.
No, and I think that's more important than anything. And I mean, I'd rather someone not listen to us if they're gonna, develop a problem and continue a problem by listening to us. So
but by all means, if it is not a problem for you, I'm all for it. If you want to drink poison for fun, that's fine.
That's great. Well, Adam, thank you so much.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks for letting me invade, and it's always such an honor. I love knowing that you guys are still going and that I had any hand in it. So.
No, for sure. And we wish you well with the Hi Friends and all the new endeavors that go with that. So
thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
And with the baby.
Yeah, and with the baby.
Right? Yeah. Well, if you ever need poor parenting advice, listen to the first 20 minutes of every show. We usually get
yeah, exactly.
All right, man. Well, thanks for joining us, Adam.
No problem. You guys have a good one.
All right. Well, that was great. Good to talk to our good friend, old friend, Adam Rosted of Chill Filtered fame and his new endeavors. So, like we mentioned earlier in the episode, kind of screwed the pooch on this one. Didn't post anything. Didn't do any what whiskey would you choose. So, you know what? For this week, we'll post it. We'll get our what whiskey would you choose from last week, and we'll talk about that next week. So, sorry about that, folks, but I didn't post it yet, so not missing anybody's. I really feel bad though when I post it late. And at the
someone
last hour, someone puts it in there, and I'm lazy and I don't acknowledge it in any way. Because, gosh, dang it, now I feel bad about myself.
We'll get better at it.
No, we probably won't. I'd like to think I would.
It.
I think I like. Yeah. Anyway, so cool. What are we gonna drink next week? And you know what?
So next week, I thought we'd go back to Buffalo Trace. And go between two koshers on top of that. So we have their kosher straight rye and we have their kosher rye recipe bourbon. So both have rye, both have corn, both have malted barley, but at what ratio? But both are kosher.
And you can
So
drink them on
that's what we got.
Passover.
Yeah, bring them on to the Passover.
But don't forget to do not ever pass over the delicious taste of Bush's baked beans.
Amen to that, brother. So,
all right.
Yeah, I hope our listeners will chime in this week and help us decide whether they want a bourbon or a rye from Buffalo Trace Kosher.
And Cole, I hope that Audi shows up. But more importantly, I hope that next week you're able to taste these two whiskeys because I'm super excited about them.
Yeah, I definitely hope that I can feel better soon.
And I hope, audience, that their love of spirits lifted yours.
We'll be like, yo, man, what up? We'll like hit it off.